Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Doug Farley. I'm the director here at the Museum of Disability History. On behalf of the museum, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight to our Dialogues on Disability speaker series. And as we launch People Inc. Press, which is the publication division for the museum, we launched the 26th publication that we have produced. I saw many of you down in the gift shop checking out the fine selection of books, but Char Szabo-Perrielli's book, J.N. Adam Hospital, her Inside Voice, is our 26th publication. So we're celebrating tonight with Char with the launch of her book. So welcome. If you do need to use a restroom this evening, they would be at that side of the room in the back. We have refreshments here. Please continue to eat the refreshments this evening. That will help us in terms of I won't have to eat them later. But we're glad you're here, so thank you for coming. Many people say, well, what can I do to help the Museum of Disability History? Well, one thing you can do, other than attending events such as this and purchasing our publications, is to become a member. Just like many other worthwhile organizations, we have a membership group that helps us with our programming throughout the year. So for as little as a $25 annual investment, you can become a member of the Museum of Disability History. There's forms on the refreshment table that will allow you to do that, and you can take care of that at any point. We don't have to do that this evening, but keep thinking if you'd like to help us in any way. That would be great. Another way you might consider helping, do you like this room? Does it seem favorable? Maybe you have a group that would like to hold a meeting here. We actually can rent this particular room based upon the schedule that we're not using the room for other purposes, but if you have an organization that would fit inside this room and you'd like to consider a place to meet, just let us know. The rental is very reasonable. I don't know if you can't make it out on the screen, but this room rents for $100 for an event. So we also have a room that rents for $50. When you came through downstairs, hopefully you saw the gift shop. We also have a neat little cafe. I saw some people checking out the ice cream treats. So at any point this evening, if you've got a sweet tooth that's wanting to be fixed, we do have some ice cream and some neat snacks downstairs as well. I see some popcorn going on here. That's an example of one of our snacks. We have chocolate-covered popcorn. So if your mouth isn't watering yet, I can go on, but I think you get the point. Wonderful gifts in our museum store. In addition to the 26 publications which we've produced, we also have a wide selection of books on many topics related to disability history. So we'd like you to look at the gift shop. We also have a neat selection of items that have been made by participants in the rehabilitation programs. These are individuals that actually have a job producing crafts and producing other items that are for sale in our gift shop. So we'd like you to look at those at some point today too. Coming soon, our next event, you actually have a flyer for this on your table if you'd like to save the date. December 1st is our next public program, and it's also a free program. You're welcome to attend. It'll be a Christmas party, a holiday party, with basket raffles. So your help with the basket raffle would be great. If you'd like to produce a basket for us, or if you'd like to purchase tickets to win a basket, that can all take place on December 1st. Sujit, I don't know if you've ever met Sujit.
He plays out at my mother's nursing home, Father Baker Manor in Orchard Park.
Does he do a good job?
Yeah, in various different...
An unsolicited testimony.
Yeah.
Sujit is going to be our musical entertainment for our Christmas party this year, and he has, as you can read his short biography there, he is an amazingly talented young man who plays a multitude of instruments very, very well and has received international acclaim for his musical abilities. He's going to do a Christmas party for us. There'll be some dancing and some other fun things going on, so we'll have refreshments, of course. As I said, that's a free event. You help us by purchasing tickets for our basket raffle. Our 24th publication was Buffalo State Hospital, A History of the Institution in Light and Shadow. It tells the story of another unique institution. Tonight we're going to hear about J.N. Adam Memorial Hospital, but Buffalo Psych Center, or the Richardson Complex as it's called today. The Richardson Towers have been a landmark in western New York and Buffalo for over 100 years, of course, as the facility was in use. Today it's hopefully we'll have a new life that will keep it architecturally safe throughout many, many years. But we have a publication about the history of the book, and it's told through the eyes of patients that went there, some staff, employees that worked there, even people in the neighborhood. So it's a great publication, so think about that at some point, maybe for your Christmas list or at any point. We also have that in our gift shop. I'm running out of things. I want to go through these quickly because I know I'm not the reason you're here. So we have a DVD for sale. It's called 6 Skies, 6,000 Miles. It's actually won the Buffalo Dream Festival Award in the family category. And it's going to be played this weekend on Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Eastern Hills Mall. We've shown it several times here, always to a sellout crowd. We've been filling up wherever we take it, we fill the room. And if you'd like to purchase a copy of this great DVD about 6 young men who took a trip across the country, 4 of the young men had developmental disabilities, and it was a life-learning experience for them, so life-changing. That's for sale for $10 in our gift shop. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our curator, Mr. Doug Platt, and he's going to tell you more about the J. and Adam Memorial Hospital.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out. I'm Doug Platt. I've been part of the museum project for a good long time, and I'm really happy to be part of the launch of this particular book. It relates to a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, which is the local history in the context of the greater history of people with disabilities. We have an image up of Mayor James Noble Adam, Scottish descent. Very, very successful businessman and mayor of Buffalo from 1906 to 1909. He was also involved in the planning. He was on the financial board of the 1901 Pan Am Exposition in Buffalo. During his term as mayor, he had a great number of accomplishments, and he left a lot of goodwill amongst his fellow civic partners in helping manage a young and bustling city of Buffalo. Buffalo was very, very successful. It had a lot of great manufacturing businessmen. It was home to some great architecture as well as some great architects. Kind of the interesting thing about Mr. Adam is that he actually offered to buy the land out on that hilltop in Perrysburg and give it to the city of Buffalo if they would put a tuberculosis hospital there for the city. The other kind of neat thing that I learned while researching James Noble Adam is he had 3 goals that he really wanted to get to while he was mayor of Buffalo. And one was improve the lighting on the streets. The second was improve public education. And the third was, say it with me, develop the waterfront. So anyway, that's how we came to getting the name J. and Adam Memorial Hospital. J.N. opened up in 1912, November 12th, I believe. And the reason it opened up on the 12th is that it was originally scheduled to be opened on the 9th, unless there was rain. So yes, there was a rain date for the opening of the hospital. But J.N. Adams was built by a prestigious architect, Mr. Coxhead, John A. Coxhead, and the reason they chose him is that he said he would design the facility for free. It's a southern plantation style facility. It had a number of notable people there. The first was Otto Eichel, was his first superintendent. He left shortly after the opening, though, to move on to bigger and better things, including being a virologist for the League of Nations. Probably the longest term superintendent was Horace LaGrasso, and LaGrasso served there for many years, retiring in 1948. And another thing about LaGrasso is my alma mater, Fredonia. LaGrasso Hall is the medical building on campus. So it operated as the City of Buffalo Tuberculosis Hospital from 1912 to 1948 when it was turned into a state facility for tuberculosis. It was one of a little more than a handful of tuberculosis centers, and it remained a tuberculosis center until 1960 when it was turned over to the Department of Mental Hygiene. Then it became a what we would call a MRDD facility, a facility for people with intellectual disabilities. And it was originally open for a couple of reasons. One was to reduce the overcrowding in the already the full packed system that New York State ran, but specifically it was going to be a local alternative for children under the age of 12 that resided in Erie County. It operated until 1993 as a MRDD facility. And here's a paperweight from the closure ceremony that occurred in spring of 1993. The closure of J.N. Adams was announced in August of 1991. It took about 18 months to complete. And from 1993, it sat pretty much vacant. The last people out of the main buildings were not only the administration, but people who were in the MDU, the Multiple Disability Unit. And what they basically did was open up a series of various size group homes for people that had resided at J.N. Adams. So 1993, if you flash forward about 23 years, in September of 2013, a photographer did a presentation here about her inside voice, Char's work of filming and capturing images from the abandoned buildings in Perrysburg. So what's kind of interesting about that is that it takes about 9 months for the average human to give birth to a baby. Elephants, yeah, about 18 months. Char's baby here took just about 3 years from when she pitched the idea to us, so please welcome Char so she can tell you a few stories about her book, and feel free to ask her to sign your purchase of her inside voice. So, Char.
You stole my line about a long labor.
I didn't know.
Unfortunately, I don't see her yet. I hope she shows up. The woman who introduced me to J.N. Adams back in 2001 when I moved out to the southern tier is 97 this year. And she has an opera or something to go to tonight too, but was going to try to make this. She took me for a ride out there and showed me some interesting things. And of all the things she showed me, there was nothing to compare to when I first saw the facility at J.N. Adams. And that was back in the day you could drive through the whole compound, and the roads had old wrought iron lamps, and I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. You wouldn't know this was out in the middle of Perrysburg. I don't want to say Perrysburg is nowhere, but when you're out that high up on a hill in a little rural town, it is pretty much nowhere. So I don't know what it was that just drew me back, and in 2009 I had an opportunity to take a tour with a now defunct group called the Friends of J.N. Adams. They were very active for quite a while in trying to get people to pay attention to this beautiful place that was just falling apart. No one was paying any attention to it. The deterioration was getting worse and worse, and there it sat. So I didn't get a chance to go back out until about 2012, and 5 other subsequent trips out there to take a peek at what was going on. And I had fallen in love with this place. I don't know why. It's serene out there. There's this beautiful healing of not isolation, but serenity and healing and warmth. And it just tugged at my maternal heartstrings, this place. I can't explain it. I just felt like I was going back there holding her hand, keeping her company for a while. So my poor husband, we went out many, many times, and he kept saying, why are we going back? Why are we? I said, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And my mom, too, knows that if I have my heart and mind set on something, I'm going to do it no matter what, and then I'll let you know when I'm done. So after, well, it was probably 6 times, right, Marco?
Are you done yet?
Almost. I felt like I wanted to document every square inch. So building to building, rooftop to basement, I just felt that I had to get a message out there about what's really a crime of this building rotting away while no one is being held accountable for taking care of it. The town of Perrysburg is suffering because it lost a major tax base when that building just closed. The state went in one day and said, you guys are all out of jobs, we're shutting the doors. And you walk in there and it is like humans were vaporized. Everything was left just like it was the last day they worked there. From laundry in big baskets to blankets and lockers to food trays out in the cafeteria. Kind of eerie, but also just, I don't know, the human element there is just amazing. I just did a lot of reading over the years from first finding out about the place, and I wasn't finding anything that really satisfied my urge to get the story told. It was either purely historical, it was old wives' tales and speculation, so I did a lot of digging and a lot of talking to people that helped me put together what has culminated into this book, which is a combination of all of it. It's history, it's my interpretation of the place as a photographer and an artist, of the energy there, of the people that were involved. I interviewed a lot of people to tell their stories that have spent time there either as patients, as employees, as family of patients. It employed a lot of people in the Perrysburg area. At the time, many people worked there or had family that were employed there. A lot of these people asked to be kept anonymous for their own reasons, and I respect that. We all have our reasons for wanting to tell a story or not tell a story. So I decided to tell the story myself, and when I read an article in the newspaper about 3 years ago, the museum was working on the Richardson book, and I thought, oh, you know, that's a success story. The Olmsted people are doing a fantastic job of refurbishing that place. It's turned into Hotel Henry. It's just an amazing story. So I wanted that same attention being brought to Jay and Adam. I wanted someone to care about this place. Problem is, it's so far out that it's not right under the noses of the people who have money and they pay attention to causes like this. There's about 600 plus acres, beautiful woodlands out there, deeply forested, a lot of type of trees, a lot of flora and fauna that the public is not getting to enjoy. It's sitting there. And there's some articles online, you can find copies of the lawsuit that was brought by a local attorney against the city of Buffalo. And it's so much legalese that it's hard for me to decipher what the heck it all means. There were several parties brought to court and sued for this and that. A lot of the decisions were split. I'm not a lawyer. I can't make heads or tails of it. But if you get a chance to look at these cases online, they are out there. It's like a park. It's almost like a miniature natural forest, and I think people should get to enjoy it. So anyway, when I saw that they were doing the Richardson book and it was a success, I called up the museum and said, hey guys, I've got a great place to tell a story about. Lots of lives were affected by it. It isn't a success story. It needs some attention. The human element is interesting. Can we do a book? So they said, well, you want to do a lecture for us and help get the word out? I said, absolutely. So these guys have been dealing with me for a little over 3 years. Gave Marco a little break. And we turned it into this phenomenal project. A lot of people were involved in it, contributed to it, put up with a lot from me. It took me a couple years to put the story together into the words I wanted to use that hopefully made people feel what I felt when I was out there, also through the photographs. The museum's allowed me to do it my way, and it's just been a great project working with them. This Abandoned History series that they have, I think, is so significant because just the word abandoned is ominous, you know, forsaken, deserted, desolate. You just get all of these negative feelings about it, and like I said, it just tugged at my maternal instincts and spoke volumes as to what was going wrong out there. I have an affinity for things that are old. I guess as I get older, I feel more of an affinity for that. I love things that have lost their shine, that become rusty and old. A lot of my photography is about that. And I just feel this affection for this inanimate object every time I'm there. I wish everyone could have the experience of feeling that beauty that's out there and the history of it. And every time I'm there, I leave a part of me behind, but I take a part of it with me. It's, again, maybe it's just this weird creative thing, but that's how it is. This has been a real, intense personal journey, and I'm just so thrilled that the museum gave me the opportunity to tell the story my way. And they've been wonderful as far as supporting me through the whole thing, and I'm a different person since this book has come out of me. It was an obsession of mine for so long, so now that it's been purged, I hope I could go on to the next thing, but I'm always going to have this feeling for Jay and Adam. And I've met some great people along the way. I'm honored to be able to call a lot of them friends. The museum staff and their mission has just deeply moved me and has further opened my eyes to the plight of people with disabilities and how they're no different from the rest of us. They have a great program on disability etiquette that I am going to take. It's just been a great journey, and I just thank you would not be enough to the museum for allowing me to do this. And thank you guys for coming out and taking a look at the book, and hopefully you fall in love a little bit too. Hi, Dorothy.
Hi, Char.
This is Dorothy, the person who introduced me to this place. You missed the part when I said that I couldn't have done any of this without you because you're the one that showed it to me first.
Char put the place on the map.
So if anybody has any questions or comments, I'll answer some of them. Yes?
Who owns the property right now?
That is mystery. Doug Platt can help me out a little bit with this. It was given to the city. The land was given to the city when it was built to be a hospital. And there was a stipulation that as long as it was kept as a healthcare facility, the city would own it. And then when it became the State Developmental Center, when it closed as a tuberculosis hospital, it was run by the state.
In 1948, there was a right of reverter clause to the city of Buffalo after it became a state tuberculosis hospital. So since it closed down being a state facility in 1993, it was going to fall back on the city. But, you know, it's a lot of property, it's a lot of upkeep, it's a lot of asbestos. So that's why there's been so much turmoil regarding lumbering or reuse or demolition, things of that nature. So it's kind of in limbo, but really Buffalo.
And that's the thing that is upsetting, because if you were a delinquent landlord letting your property sit there and fall apart, not paying taxes, someone would be knocking on your door. And this is not being done for Jay and Adam. So another mission of this book is to get this in front of people that can do something about this, bring it to court again, come up with the money to say, hey, we'll buy this, it's beautiful. The last serious offer they had was from a timber company, and thankfully it was turned down because I don't think it has official landmark status, but it is historically preserved, if you could call the sad state of affairs out there preservation. Oh, Dave, you hit?
Yeah, I just wondered, are there any politicians who are interested in this, or anyone we can contact to just do something? I mean,
Catherine Young was the last person I heard about. She's more a Southern Tierway. I had contacted her via email about a month ago, but I know it's, bad time. They're all focused on something else right now. But I do want to pursue it with her. I had also asked Doug Farley, and he did. We sent a copy to Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be a rabble rouser. I want people to contact Congress people, senators, anybody, local council people that could finally push something to happen here and hold somebody accountable.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, I've driven by there many, many times in recent years, and I always notice a large fence around it.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share with us some of your strategies for access?
Well, I noticed the fence too. Telling my story was more important to me than the methods of which I had to employ to tell the story. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I know the state police keep an eye on that. I drove
Yes.
out there one time and the state police pulled right up behind my car because they want to stop people from stealing copper and everything else.
That's all gone already.
I'm sure it's already.
Oh, that ship
Too
has
late.
sailed, yes.
Barn doors already.
In fact, one of the last times we were out there, Marco had dropped me off so I could walk around in waist-high snow, shooting it in the winter. And of course, he went to Golanda for coffee. And I said, I'll call you when I'm done. But he showed up. And of course, he's on Peck Hill Road with his flashers on, waiting for me to finish. So of course, the police show up and, they said, what's that guy doing? He said, that's not a guy, it's my wife. Of course, a hood, I could see how they could, confuse that. But they said, well, what are you doing? And he said, she's walking around photographing. Well, why? Well, she's working on a book. Well, can you open your trunk? Do you have copper? No. So by the time I got up to the car, I mean, it's like zero tolerance out there. They wanted to arrest me for walking around the outside of the fence. And I said, look, I was on the outside of the fence. If you want to go walk in waist-high snow and see my tracks, go ahead. And then it turned into, well, did you see any holes in the fence? Did you see any signs of, egress? I said, I wasn't looking for that. I was shooting through the fence to get the shots in the snow. And that was the last time I was out there.
They probably got your license number.
I'm sure they did. But by then, most of the story had been collected. I have over 2,000 photos of the place. So of course, to narrow it down to 400 something, whatever I could possibly cram into this book, I wanted to tell the full story. I thought, like I said, not to evade the question, but I just thought the story was so important that it took what it took.
Were you using film or digital recording?
No, it was all shot with, I have a Canon and a Nikon. I go back and forth depending what lens I like for, zoom or close-up. I did all still photography. Yes, Tracy?
So if you had a magic wand, you know this property so well, what do you think it should be reborn as? What would fit, what would work?
I see it as either two things. An extension of the medical corridor, where it really was one of the original medical corridors in the area. There's a lot of buildings that are still in pretty good shape that were used for staff housing and patients. What I would really love to see it as, because the view from the rooftops is just absolutely phenomenal. You could see the city of Buffalo, you could see the lake, you could see Canada, a creative retreat. Something like a Chautauqua, in the southern tier, where people could go paint, write, sculpt, play music. I mean, the campus is just so huge that nobody would bother anybody. And the way Cox had designed it for the light, because that was the big mode of treatment for the tuberculosis, fresh, cold air, sunlight, the kids used to run around in just underwear outside in the snow, skiing, because that was the treatment. It's like perfect light for any studio or creative purpose. I could see myself having a studio out there. And then I'd be out of Marco's way too, then he could have a bigger music studio. All set? We're good? Thanks for coming out. Oh, Tom?
I know there's, based on fact, it's like the Marx Brothers formed in front of that circle. I've heard over the years, I don't know if that's true or not, not?
Several
And then,
very famous entertainers
Sammy
showed
Davis
up there.
Jr., I know, visited there one time.
Yeah, I read that it was something about their contracts when they would come to Buffalo. It was part of the contract that, well, while you're here, you could just drive 35 miles further south and perform. And they have a theater in the building. I don't know if it was really a theater then, when it was the TB hospital, but they would perform on that big circle out in front of the admin building.
Yeah, there's like a stage thing,
Mhm.
kind of like a high school stage. type thing.
Yeah, there's the old theater lights in the back with the old
Yeah.
crank for the curtains and everything. Yeah, that's still all intact.
And this past, I think, spring, there was like a small fire in one of the stairwells in there, but they tried to put it out before it became anything. But so it's like, be nice to do something with it for, somebody's.
Oh, I mean,
Or is it-
there's a lot of asbestos, a lot of lead, a lot of mildew and mold. It's in really bad shape.
I know before the lumber company that, there's a, I won't say, but local business person was thinking about buying that, but then it's some of the asbestos, or how do you say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It would cost,
Oh, the remediation would be really expensive. I mean, I couldn't even guess at a dollar amount what it would cost to do remediation out there. But
it'd be worth
even,
it, though,
it would, and even if you demolish what's bad, I mean, it's such a part of our history, and
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful, beautiful place.
You go over to Europe, all these nice, really nice old buildings that can serve for, 400 years.
Right, even their ruins are preserved.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's remnants that you could still go visit, and I mean, it's such a shame that, like the gentleman said, that there's this big, huge fence with concertina wire all around the top of it, and
That, just one other thing, I already mentioned it, email the St. John, I can't remember.
oh, the Baptist church.
No, it's Catholic Church,
Oh,
St. John. Oh, you're thinking about the one on downtown. This one's on off Walden and Cheektowaga. St. John, starts with G.
St. John Walbert?
Yeah, yeah. I was there for a memorial mass, and they just finished renovations there. Beautiful church inside, architecture and that. And they got, diocese, I think, is gonna make it into like a shrine, which I don't know what that means as far as preserving it, but they gotta use it. It'd be nice if they did the same thing for Jane Adam at some point, yeah.
oh yeah, I mean, like I said, if it was a cultural center, a medical center, you could have a chapel in it or something, or even, multi-denominational.
Or retirement home, or.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it isn't gonna be cheap, but someone has to,
Yeah.
care enough first before anything gets done, but, in the meantime, it's just crumbling in on itself, and that dome out there, which, everybody thinks it's the dome that McKinley was shot under at the Temple of Music, and that is, from everything I've read, in fact, there was a recent article in the Buffalo News by Ann Neville, that it is not, that it just, and I know Jody out at the Perrysburg Museum is wanting to work to dig into it more, to say, maybe it is. So that's a kind of cool ongoing debate. At least it's bringing attention to something going on out there. But the dome is just absolutely beautiful. It looks a little more Tiffany to me, but I love architecture, but I'm not an architect, and I don't know if that was Coxhead style or not, or where it was brought in, where it was assembled, if it was built right there on the grounds, I don't know. But that's still being dug into, so that's kind of neat. Yes?
I'm really interested in your editorial process. You took thousands of pictures, you said, photos. So how did you choose what would go?
That was probably the hardest thing to do. Although when I'm shooting, I get so lost in it, I see the world through that lens, and just, a little turn this way, or a little setting that way, or a portrait versus a landscape just sometimes tilts what I think is best. So I put all that aside for a while, and then I just started writing the story, doing the interviews, everything else that went into the book. And then that helped me concentrate more on what was relevant to what I was talking about in the book. I also have an article now in the Western New York Heritage Magazine on J.N. Adam, the fall issue. And that's hard, trying to write it that it's rewritten so it's still interesting to someone that may or may not read what I wrote in the book that I didn't write somewhere else. You know, it got really very involved. So I started picking out relevant to the words and then some of my favorite shots. There's just some, you know, I think every creative has their favorite painting, their favorite sculpture. I have my favorite images too. But that was a long process. Because I liked them all, because they're all of J.N. Adam. Yeah,
What's your next project?
Dave Mack,
Yeah.
are we doing the next project?
Next project is practicality, Char. You want to tell them about it?
A little bit. We'll keep them in suspense. I was the only photographer ever allowed or ever will be allowed into Groveland State Prison 2 years ago, escorted by a corrections officer so I could document what was once an epileptic colony. And that didn't go over well because the CO's buddies didn't like that he got to escort some lady photographer around while they had a cover for his job. So the superintendent just said they were all acting like a bunch of babies, so that's not going to happen again. But again, it has relevance to the Museum of Disability History because it was an epileptic colony. There's a lot of Quaker buildings still left there. So I spent one full day documenting inside the prison walls. The only thing I couldn't shoot was the sniper tower or the concertina wire over the fencing. Marco went with me. We had to take all our jewelry off, everything. We had to, you know, basically get passed from one set of bars closing behind us, and one set of bars closing, or I should say in front of us, then behind us. We were walking amongst the inmates. It was really, really neat. Of course, I didn't finish in 8 hours, so I got her permission, the superintendent of the prison, to come back out on a Saturday, on one of his days off, to walk the outside of the prison proper, but still prison proper. So that's going to be our next project.
Where is that?
That is out in Sagne, Groveland Correctional Facility. It's a medium security prison. In fact, it was like walking around a college campus. It was pretty casual, and the inmates call it Groovy Land.
Groovy land.
They seem to have a nice atmosphere there. I guess the prison can have a nice atmosphere. I'm all into atmosphere, you can tell. So I can't say the energy was as good there as it was at J.N. Adam, but you know, it was pretty cool. So, and I just contacted the prison. I just called up and said, I'm a local photographer that does historical documentation. Can I come out there? Yeah, it had to go through like 5 levels of the chains of command. You know, this one had to okay this one, and, but it happened. So, yep, Dave and I have been talking, and we're going to start meeting on that one. I'm sorry? This one took 3 years, Gay.
3 years?
3 years to do this.
3 years too?
I don't think it would take 3 years.
I don't think
He
so.
has all the pictures.
Right, we have that done. We just now have to do the writing. Although I
Right, the
probably,
hard part is the book.
right. So if no one else has any other questions, you guys are probably hungry. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Char.